The autumn rain painted silver streaks across the floor-to-ceiling windows of Sterling Industries' penthouse boardroom. Victoria Sterling stood silently, watching the city below as board members filed out after approving her latest acquisition. At 28, she had everything money could provide, yet felt emptier than the abandoned buildings her company demolished for profit. Her reflection stared back from the glass, revealing perfectly styled chestnut hair, designer clothes that cost more than most people's yearly salary, and eyes that held wisdom beyond her years. The Sterling Empire had been her burden since her father's death 3 years ago, transforming her from a passionate art student into a ruthless businesswoman overnight. "Miss Sterling, your mother is here," announced Emma, her assistant, with the careful tone reserved for potentially explosive situations. Victoria's relationship with Catherine Sterling resembled a chess match where love and manipulation intertwined dangerously. Catherine swept into the boardroom like a queen entering her court. Every detail about her screamed old money from her perfectly set silver hair to her vintage Chanel suit. She had dedicated her life to preserving the Sterling legacy, viewing Victoria as both her greatest achievement and biggest disappointment. "Darlin', we need to discuss your future," Catherine announced. Settling into the chair across from Victoria with practiced grace, the Henderson merger requires a strong image. A married woman appears more stable to investors. Victoria turned. From the window, exhaustion evident in her voice. "Mother, we've had this conversation countless times. I won't marry someone I don't love just to appease shareholders." "Love is a luxury we cannot afford," Catherine replied coldly. "Your father understood this. He married me because it strengthened both our families. Look what we built together." Conversation was interrupted by Emma's gentle knock. "Miss Sterling, the car is ready for the gallery opening. Mr. Williams said tonight's exhibition features emerging local artists." Victoria gathered her things, grateful for the escape.
"I will
continue this discussion later, Mother. Some things are more important than merger documents." The gallery where hearts collided, the Meridian Gallery, buzzed with energy as Victoria arrived. Unlike the sterile corporate world she inhabited daily, this space pulsed with creativity and genuine passion. Its paintings covered every wall, each telling stories that spoke to the soul rather than the wallet. She moved through the crowd, observing how people connected with art in ways business never allowed. Their faces showed genuine emotion, not the calculated expressions she encountered in boardrooms. For the first time in months, Victoria felt like she could breathe. "You look lost," a warm voice said behind her. Victoria turned to find a man studying her with curious green eyes. He wore a simple black shirt and jeans, his dark hair slightly tousled, as if he had been running his hands through it while working. Paint stains on his fingers suggested he was more than just an observer here. "Not lost," she replied, surprising herself with her honesty. "Just discovering something I didn't know I was looking for." "I'm Nathan Rivers," he said, extending a paint-stained hand. "And you're standing in front of my painting?" Victoria glanced at the canvas behind her and gasped. The piece depicted a woman sitting alone in a corporate office, surrounded by success symbols, yet radiating profound loneliness. The painting captured emotions she had never voiced aloud. "How did you know?" she whispered, studying every brushstroke. "How did you paint exactly what I feel?" Nathan stepped closer, his presence both comforting and electrifying. "Sometimes we recognize our own story in someone else's eyes. You have beautiful eyes, by the way. They tell stories your words won't share." Their conversation flowed like they had known each other for years rather than minutes. Nathan spoke about art with the same passion Victoria once felt for architecture before responsibility crushed her dreams. He listened without judgment when she carefully shared fragments of her life, never mentioning her last name or family wealth. "Would you like to see where the magic happens?" Nathan asked as the gallery began closing. "My studio is just around the corner." Victoria knew she should decline. Catherine would be furious if she discovered these stolen hours with a stranger, but something about Nathan made her feel alive for the first time in years. So she followed him into the night that changed everything. Nathan's studio occupied the second floor of an old building, accessible only through a narrow staircase that creaked with each step. The space overflowed with canvases, brushes, and the beautiful chaos of artistic creation. Half-finished paintings lined every wall, each one capturing raw human emotion. "This is where I escape from the world," Nathan said, lighting candles throughout the room. "Money can't buy this kind of peace." Victoria moved through the studio like someone discovering a secret garden. Every painting revealed Nathan's gift for seeing beauty in ordinary moments. Children playing in puddles, elderly couples holding hands, workers heading home after long days. "You captured truth," she said softly. "In my world, everything is performance. People say what they think others want to hear, smile when cameras are watching, pretend to be happy when they're dying inside." Nathan approached her slowly, as if afraid sudden movements might break the spell. "What's your truth, Victoria?" She hadn't told him her name, yet hearing it from his lips felt natural. "My truth is that I inherited a fortune but lost my soul. I have everything money can buy, but nothing my heart actually wants." "What does your heart want?" Question hung in the air between them, charged with possibility. Victoria looked into Nathan's eyes and saw something she had never experienced. Genuine care from someone who knew nothing about her bank account or family name. "Freedom," she whispered. "To choose my own path. Love who I want to love. Create. Something meaningful instead of just acquiring more wealth." Nathan reached up to touch her face gently. "Freedom isn't something you find, Victoria. It's something you choose, even when that choice seems impossible. Love's first dawn, their first kiss happened naturally, like two souls recognizing each other after searching through countless lifetimes." Victoria felt every wall she had built around her heart crumble in that moment. For the first time since her father's death, she felt completely present, completely alive. They spent the night talking about dreams abandoned and hopes carefully hidden. Nathan shared his struggle as an artist in a world that valued profit over passion. Victoria revealed her architectural training and secret desire to design homes that brought families together, rather than corporate towers that kept people apart. As dawn approached, reality began creeping back into their perfect bubble. Victoria knew Catherine would be looking for her, suspicious about her prolonged absence from their scheduled breakfast meeting. "I have to go," she said reluctantly, gathering her things while trying to memorize every detail of the studio. "Will I see you again?" Nathan asked, vulnerability clear in his voice. "Yes," Victoria promised, though she had no idea how to make it possible. "I need to figure some things out, but yes, you've shown me something I thought was lost forever." She kissed him goodbye, tasting hope and possibility on his lips. Walking toward her waiting car, Victoria felt transformed. The woman who had entered the gallery the night before no longer existed. On her place stood someone ready to fight for happiness, regardless of the cost. But as her driver navigated through morning traffic toward the Sterling mansion, Victoria had no idea that Catherine had already discovered her absence. Nor could she imagine the elaborate deception her mother was already planning to destroy the love that had awakened. Victoria's sleeping heart, the wealthy heiress who had spent years building walls around her emotions, had finally found someone worth tearing them down for. But would love be strong enough to survive the lies that were already being woven to separate them forever? Victoria floated through the Sterling mansion's marble halls like someone walking on air. The previous night with Nathan had awakened something inside her that she thought had died with her father. For the first time in years, she felt genuinely happy, and it showed in every step she took. Catherine Sterling sat in the morning room, her breakfast untouched, studying surveillance photographs spread across the mahogany table like evidence in a criminal case. Her private investigator had followed Victoria from the gallery to Nathan's studio, documenting every moment of their encounter. "Good morning, Mother," Victoria said, practically glowing as she entered the room. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Catherine's cold eyes swept over her daughter, noting the wrinkled dress from the night before, the slightly smudged makeup, and most tellingly, the radiant smile that hadn't graced Victoria's face in months. "Sit down," Catherine commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. "We need to discuss your activities last evening." Victoria's happiness faltered slightly as she noticed the photographs on the table. Her stomach dropped when she recognized herself and Nathan outside his studio, their bodies close together in intimate conversation. You had me followed. Victoria's voice carried a dangerous edge that Catherine had rarely heard before. I protect what belongs to this family, Catherine replied coolly, including you from making disastrous mistakes that could destroy everything your father built. She slid a photograph across the table showing Nathan embracing another woman. Outside an expensive restaurant, the image looked authentic, capturing what appeared to be a passionate kiss between Nathan and a beautiful blonde woman. This was taken 3 nights ago, Catherine lied smoothly. While you were at the charity gala, your artist friend was entertaining someone else, someone he's been seeing for months, according to my investigator. The web of deception tightens. Victoria stared at the photograph, her heart shattering into pieces so small they felt like glass cutting through her chest. The man who had looked into her eyes and spoke of truth, who had made her feel beautiful and worthy of love, was apparently living a double life. There's more, Catherine continued, producing additional photographs that showed Nathan with the same woman at various locations around the city. He's been using you, darling. Men like him always do. They see wealthy women as opportunities, not as people to love. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Victoria studied each photograph, searching for signs of manipulation or deception, but they appeared genuine. The Nathan in these images looked relaxed and happy with this mysterious woman, just as he had appeared with Victoria the night before. Who is she? Victoria whispered, her voice barely audible. Her name is Rachel Morrison. It's an art dealer. Who's been helping him secure gallery showings in exchange for personal favors? According to my sources, he's been telling her the same romantic stories he told you. Catherine leaned forward, her expression softening with practiced maternal concern. Sweetheart, I know this hurts. But imagine how much worse it would have been if you had continued this relationship and he had humiliated you publicly. Victoria felt nauseated. The magical evening she had treasured now felt like a cruel joke. Every word Nathan had spoken, every gentle touch, every promise seemed tainted by his apparent betrayal. I should have known, Victoria said bitterly. No one could actually love me for who I am. It was always about the money. Don't blame yourself, Catherine soothed, though her eyes held satisfaction at seeing Victoria's defenses rebuilding. Men like Nathan Rivers are skilled manipulators. They know exactly what lonely women want to hear. Nathan's desperate search, meanwhile, across the city, Nathan paced his studio like a caged animal. Victoria had promised to contact him, but 3 days had passed without a word. He had called every gallery and art dealer he knew, hoping someone might have information about the mysterious woman who had stolen his heart. His best friend Thomas burst through the studio door, carrying coffee and the determination that had made him successful in his law practice. Any word from your mystery woman? Nothing, Nathan replied, running paint-stained hands through his hair. It's like she vanished completely. I don't even know her last name, Thomas. How do you find someone when all you have is a first name and the memory of the most incredible night of your life? Thomas studied his friend's paintings, noting how Nathan's recent work had transformed. Where once his art reflected struggle and loneliness, his newest pieces radiated hope and joy. You've got it bad, don't you? I think I love her, Nathan. Admitted, I know how crazy that sounds after one night, but something happened between us. Something real. She felt it too. I know she did. Then we'll find her, Thomas declared. This city isn't that big. Someone must know who she is. But their search efforts were systematically thwarted by Catherine's network of influence. Gallery owners who might have recognized Victoria suddenly claimed they had never seen her. Art dealers refused to share client information. Every lead disappeared as quickly as it surfaced. The cruel revelation 2 weeks after their perfect night together, Victoria finally gathered the courage to confront Nathan. She needed to hear his lies directly, to see his face when she exposed his deception. The pain of his betrayal had festered inside her like poison, and she needed closure. Before she could move forward, she found him at his studio, working frantically on a painting that made her breath catch. The canvas depicted 2 figures dancing under starlight, their faces illuminated by pure joy. She recognized herself in the female figure and realized he had been painting their night together. Victoria. Nathan dropped his brush, his face lighting up with relief and adoration. I've been going crazy looking for you. Why didn't you call? I was starting to think I had dreamed everything. She studied his expression, searching for signs of guilt or deception. Instead, she saw only genuine happiness and concern. For a moment, doubt crept into her certainty about his betrayal. "I know about Rachel," she said quietly, watching his face for reaction. Nathan's expression shifted to complete confusion. "Rachel? Rachel Morrison? What does she have to do with anything?" "Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about," Victoria said, her voice growing stronger. "I've seen the photographs, Nathan. I know you've been seeing her for months." "What photographs?" Nathan stepped closer, his confusion appearing genuine. "Victoria, I have no idea what you're talking about. Rachel Morrison is an art dealer who's been trying to represent me, but I turned her down weeks ago. I haven't seen her since." Pulled out one of Catherine's photographs, the one showing Nathan and Rachel embracing passionately outside the expensive restaurant. Nathan stared at the image, his face draining of color. "This isn't real," he whispered. "I've never kissed Rachel Morrison. I've barely spoken to her." "Victoria, someone has manipulated this photograph. The man in this picture looks exactly like you," Victoria said, though doubt was creeping into her voice. Nathan studied the photograph more carefully, pointing to details only he would notice. "Look at the shirt. I don't own anything like this. And see this scar on my hand from a childhood accident? It's missing in this photo, Victoria. Someone has gone to incredible lengths to fabricate these images." The mother's final move before Victoria could fully process Nathan's words, her phone rang. Catherine's voice carried perfectly calculated panic. "Darling, you need to come home immediately. Your father's business partner has discovered some irregularities in the company accounts. We don't handle this crisis properly, we could lose everything." Victoria looked at Nathan, torn between the evidence of betrayal and his seemingly genuine confusion. The crisis at home demanded her immediate attention, leaving no time to sort through the conflicting information. "I have to go," she told Nathan. "There's a family emergency." "Victoria, please don't leave like this," Nathan pleaded. "Give me a chance to prove these photographs are fake. Let me show you that what we shared was real." But Victoria was already walking away, her mind spinning with doubt and confusion. Behind her, Nathan called out desperately, "I'll find you. Again, Victoria. I'll prove the truth, whatever it takes." As her car pulled away from the studio, Victoria didn't see Catherine's private investigator photographing the entire encounter from across the street, nor did she know that her mother was already implementing the next phase of her plan to permanently separate them. The lies that had taken root in Victoria's heart were about to grow into something that would keep two souls apart for years. While a mother's obsession with control would soon create consequences, neither of them could have imagined the love that had bloomed so beautifully in one perfect night now faced its greatest test. Buried under deceptions so elaborate that truth itself seemed impossible to find. 5 years had passed since that devastating confrontation in Nathan's studio. Victoria Sterling had transformed into exactly what her mother wanted, a cold, efficient business machine who crushed competitors without mercy and kept her heart locked away from any possibility of love. The Sterling empire had doubled in size under her leadership, but the cost had been her soul. She stood in her corner office, reviewing acquisition papers that would eliminate another small business, when Emma knocked softly on the door. Her assistant had remained loyal through all the dark years, watching Victoria retreat deeper into isolation with each passing month. "Miss Sterling, there's someone here to see you. Says it's about your daughter." Victoria's blood froze. Only 3 people knew about little Rose Emma: the private doctor who had delivered her, and the nanny who cared for her in the secluded estate outside the city. Victoria had hidden her pregnancy and birth completely, terrified that Catherine would try to use the child as another weapon of control. The woman who entered her office looked nervous but determined. She wore the simple uniform of a cleaning service, her graying hair pulled back neatly, her weathered hands clutching a manila envelope. "Miss Sterling, my name is Maria Santos. Been cleaning Sterling Industries for 15 years. I need to show you something that will change your life." Victoria's assistant training kicked in. Security should have screened you. "How did you get past the front desk?" Maria's eyes held a mixture of guilt and resolve, as I know secrets about. "This family that your mother paid me to keep buried. But I can't stay silent anymore. Not when I see what it's done to you." She opened the envelope and spread its contents across Victoria's pristine desk. Inside were negatives, contact sheets, and payment receipts that made Victoria's world tilt dangerously. Your mother hired me to help create fake photographs 5 years ago. She brought a professional photographer, makeup artists, and actors to a private studio. They spent 3 days creating images that would convince you the man you loved was betraying you. The truth emerges. Victoria stared at the evidence, her hands trembling as she recognized the manipulated images that had shattered her heart. The contact sheets showed multiple takes of the same scenes, with notes about lighting and angles to make the deception more believable. "Why?" Victoria whispered. "Why would you help her destroy my happiness?" Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Because she threatened to have my son deported. He was here illegally working to support his family back in Mexico. Your mother said one phone call from her could ruin his life forever." The payment receipts showed astronomical amounts Catherine had spent on the elaborate deception photographer. Fees, actor payments, studio rentals, even bribery money for gallery owners to refuse information about Victoria to Nathan during his desperate search. "But why are you telling me now?" Victoria asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "Because my son became a citizen last month. Because I've watched you become a ghost of the woman you used to be. And because yesterday I saw him again." Him. Rivers. He was at the children's hospital, painting murals in the cancer ward. He spent years doing charity work, using his art to bring joy to sick children. "That's not the behavior of a manipulative gold digger, Miss Sterling." Victoria sank into her chair, the weight of 5 lost years crushing down on her. All this time, Nathan had been living the life of an honest man while she had convinced herself he was a liar and a manipulator. "There's something else," Maria continued gently. "He asks about you. Every time he sees me at the hospital charity events, he asks if I know anything about a woman named Victoria who disappeared from his life. He never forgot you." The revelation hit Victoria like a physical blow. While she had been building walls around her heart, Nathan had been searching for her, remaining faithful to a memory of one perfect night, the daughter's discovery that evening. Victoria drove to her secluded estate where 4-year-old Rose played in the garden under her nanny's watchful eye. The little girl had Nathan's green eyes, an artistic temperament, spending hours drawing pictures that showed remarkable talent for someone so young. "Mama." Rose ran to her with paint-stained fingers, holding up a drawing of 2 people dancing under stars. "I dreamed about this picture. Do you know these people?" Victoria stared at the drawing, recognizing it as nearly identical to the painting Nathan had been working on during their last confrontation. How could Rose have dreamed something so specific about parents she had never seen together? "Tell me about your dream, sweetheart," Victoria said, lifting Rose onto her lap. "The man was sad because he lost someone important. The lady was sad, too, but she didn't remember why. They were supposed to be together, but someone with mean eyes kept them apart." Rose's innocent words pierced through Victoria's defenses like arrows. Her daughter was somehow sensing the truth that had been hidden from her entire life. "Rose, how would you feel about meeting the man from your dream?" The little girl's face lit up with pure joy. "He's real. It's my daddy, isn't he? I knew it. I could feel it in my heart." The confrontation with Catherine. Victoria stormed into Sterling Mansion that night. Finding Catherine in her study reviewing financial reports with the same cold efficiency she brought to destroying lives. "We need to talk," Victoria announced. Dropping Maria's envelope on the desk, Catherine glanced at the contents without changing expression. "I see Maria finally developed a conscience. I wondered when this day would come. 5 years, Mother. You stole 5 years of my life and kept Rose from knowing her father. Ow! How could you be so cruel?" Catherine stood and walked to the fireplace, her posture regal despite the accusations. "I protected you from making the biggest mistake of your life. That man would have destroyed you, taken your money, and left you broken. Nathan never even knew about my money, made sure of that by destroying our relationship before he could learn who I really was. Men like Nathan Rivers are all the same," Catherine said dismissively. "Give them time, and their true nature emerges. I simply accelerated the inevitable." Victoria approached her mother, seeing her clearly for the first time in years. "No, Mother, You created a lie so elaborate that you convinced yourself it was truth. You were so terrified of losing control over me that you destroyed the one real thing in my life. And what do you plan to do now? Catherine asked coldly. Run back to your starving artist. Abandon everything your father built for a man who paints pictures for children? I'm going to do something I should have done 5 years ago, Victoria replied. I'm going to choose love over fear, truth over lies, and happiness over your definition of success. The reunion the next morning, Victoria drove to the children's hospital where Maria had said Nathan volunteered. She found him in the pediatric wing, surrounded by sick children who watched in wonder as he painted a magical forest scene on their wall. He looked older, more mature, but his eyes still held the same kindness that had captured her heart 5 years ago. Paint stains still decorated his fingers, and his gentle voice filled the room as he explained his artistic choices to his young audience. The fairy in this tree represents hope, he was saying to a little girl with no hair from chemotherapy. Even in the darkest forest, there's always someone watching over you, ready to help you find your way home. Victoria watched from the doorway, her heart breaking and healing simultaneously. This was the man her mother had convinced her was selfish and manipulative, a man who spent his free time bringing joy to dying children. When Nathan finally noticed her, the paintbrush slipped from his fingers. The children sensed something important was happening and fell silent, watching the two adults stare at each other across 5 years of separation and pain. Victoria, he whispered, her name still carrying the same reverence it had held during their first meeting. Hello, Nathan, she replied, her voice barely steady. We need to talk. The truth about Rose, they walked to a quiet corner of the hospital garden, where Victoria finally revealed the secret she had carried alone for 5 years. You have a daughter, she said simply. Her name is Rose, she's 4 years old, and she has your eyes. Nathan sat down heavily on a nearby bench, the news hitting him like a physical blow. A daughter? Why didn't you tell me? Why did you disappear? Victoria explained everything, the fake photographs, Catherine's manipulation, her own fear and confusion. With each revelation, Nathan's expression shifted from hurt to anger to understanding. I searched for you for 2 years, he said quietly. I hired private investigators, contacted every gallery in 3 states, even tried to track down your license plate number. It was like you had vanished completely. My mother made sure of that, Victoria replied bitterly. She paid people to give you false information, to claim they had never seen me. She turned my disappearance into a magic trick. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, processing the magnitude of what had been stolen from them. 5 years of my daughter's life, her first steps, her first words, bedtime stories, birthday parties. I'll never get those back. I know, Victoria said, tears streaming down her face. I know how much I've cost both of you. I was a coward, who chose to believe lies rather than fight for the truth. You were manipulated by someone you trusted. Nathan corrected gently, the same way I would have been if our positions had been reversed. He turned to face her fully, his green eyes searching her face. The question now is, what do we do? Can we find our way back to each other after all this time? Love second. Chance Victoria reached into her purse and pulled out one of Rose's drawings, the one depicting 2 people dancing under stars. She drew this yesterday, Victoria said. She's never seen your painting of our night together, but somehow she dreamed the same image. She asked me if I knew these people, and when I told her we might meet the man from her dream, she said she already knew he was her daddy. Nathan stared at the drawing, amazement replacing the pain in his eyes. She's been dreaming about us? Children see truth more clearly than adults, Victoria replied. Rose has been waiting her whole life to meet you, even though she didn't consciously understand why. That afternoon, they drove together to Victoria's estate. Rose was playing in the garden when they arrived, and the moment she saw Nathan, she dropped her toys and ran straight to him. Daddy, she called out, as if she had been saying that word her entire life. Nathan knelt down and caught her in his arms, both of them crying with joy. Victoria watched father and daughter meet for the first time, seeing the instant connection that proved love could transcend time and circumstance. I brought you a present, Nathan told Rose, pulling a small canvas from his car. It was a painting of a little girl with green eyes, dancing with fairy godparents under a rainbow. "It's me," Rose exclaimed with delight. "You painted me even though you didn't know me yet." "I've been painting you in my heart for years," Nathan replied. "Didn't know your name until today?" The family restored 6 months later. Victoria and Nathan stood in the same garden where they had first reunited with Rose. The small wedding ceremony included only their closest friends: Thomas, who served as Nathan's best man; Emma, who had become like a sister to Victoria; and Maria, whose courage had made their reunion possible. Rose served as flower girl, scattering petals with the same artistic flair she had inherited from her father. She had adapted to having Nathan in her life as if he had never been absent, their bond growing stronger each day. Catherine Sterling had been notably absent from the wedding. After their final confrontation, she had retreated to her estate in Europe, finally understanding that her attempts to control her daughter had cost her the family she claimed to be protecting. "I have something for you," Nathan told Victoria as they danced to their first song as husband and wife. He handed her a small canvas, a painting of their family of 3. But with a fourth figure barely visible in the background, it was Catherine, watching from a distance with an expression of regret. "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting," Nathan explained, "but it means choosing love over anger, hope over bitterness." Victoria studied the painting, seeing her mother not as the villain of their story, but as a woman whose fear had made her destructive. Maybe someday she'll be ready to be part of Rose's life again. But only if she can learn to love without trying to control. And if she can't... Victoria smiled, holding her husband close while their daughter played nearby. "We'll continue building our own happiness, one day at a time. We've lost enough years to other people's fears and lies." As the sun set over their celebration, the family that had been torn apart by deception had found its way back together. Through the power of persistent love and unwavering truth, the billionaire's heart had finally learned that the greatest wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the precious moments shared with those who loved her for exactly who she was. Their story proved that even the most elaborate lies eventually crumble before authentic love, and that some bonds are strong enough to survive any attempt to break them. In the end, truth didn't just set them free, it brought them home to each other, exactly where they had always belonged.